What's going on, YouTube? It's Kyle again with DTOM Knives and Gear, and today we have a very special knife to go over. This will be the first custom knife that I have ever handled. This is the DSK Dimondback version 2. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, guys. Okay, like you can see in the description, we are going to be talking about the DSK Dimondback version 2. DSK stands for Dan Sullivan Knives. He is a custom knife maker out of Arizona. This will be the first custom that I have ever been able to handle, and it is all thanks to my good friend, Big Bore Knife and Gear. He sent this to me for review, and I am so very grateful. I might not have been able to handle this knife if he hadn't done that and been such a great friend. Definitely go check him out. Links will be in the description for his YouTube page and his Instagram. So we're going to be talking about this guy. I am so excited because I've never handled anything like this before. This is a superb knife. You know, we all start out having knives. We start at a certain time in our childhood when we get interested in knives. We have a certain style of knife, price of knife, and then, you know, you get older, you get a little bit more money as an adult, and then you start buying knives if you're like me and you just like knives. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you're a knife guy. So then, of course, you get a little bit more money, you buy a little bit more expensive knives, and then you can get in well over the multiple thousands of dollars of knives to be able to get customs. This one, Dan Sullivan, is a maker out of Arizona, and he makes very, very good quality knives. This one is the Dimondback version number 2, and unfortunately, this is a discontinued model of his. He does have a lot of other models. This one, however, is discontinued, and it kind of makes me sad because this is such a great knife. You know, Dan Sullivan is a former Marine. I was talking about Greg Medford whenever I did my other video, and I said ex-Marine, and I was quickly told that you're never an ex-Marine. So I am going to say former Marine because he is a former Marine, served this country, and I know he's been to Iraq. So Mr. Sullivan, thank you very much for your service, and for all those other men and women out there that are serving and have served, thank you very much. He's out of Arizona, does such a great job. I didn't really know anything about DSK knives before I got this thing, so I did a little bit of reading up, and seems like a really cool dude. He does have his own YouTube page, you know, he's a hard one. He likes you know, big overbuilt knives, just like I do. And this particular model is actually one that he made that is a little bit more EDC friendly, even though it's still a relatively good sized knife, a big, beefy, overbuilt quality knife. So that's very interesting. Let's kind of go over what materials we do have here. As you can see, look how beautiful this thing is. Oh, this is a CPM 154 blade steel. And full titanium construction as far as the scales. We have a full titanium pocket clip. You can see the kind of cool angled milling on this guy. That's pretty cool. It's got oversized hardware. It's just so beautiful. I love the kind of the pattern that he mimicked from the blade on down here. I don't think, I think that's like an acid wash. I don't really know what it is, but it looks freaking sweet how it goes from this blade and mirrors onto the handle. I think it looks sick. This thing is just a beast, and it just feels so well built. It's amazing handling these higher end knives and what you really get as far as quality. Now, look at that action. That's the best thing about this knife. This action is freaking awesome. It is you can middle finger flick this like nobody's business, and it is drop shutty. And the reason for that is because this one actually runs on bearings. I know that whenever he first started making knives, They were all on phosphor-bronze washers. Then I know a couple of guys, wanted some better action, and so I think he was a little bit reluctant, but he did it, and he did an excellent job. The action on this thing is probably the best action that I have on any knife, or this is not my knife. Boy, do I wish it was my knife. But the action is pretty superb and better than any knife that I've handled. It is just perfect. As soon as you flick it out, it locks up so solid. I mean, this is one solid, just great tool. The grind on this thing, as you can see, it is a hollow grind, but you see how it comes at an angle like this? That's pretty sweet. You don't see many knives like that. It comes relatively thin behind the edge. I measured it anywhere between 20 and 23 thousandths down this thing, so it cuts super well. The blade thickness, excuse me, the actual blade thickness of this guy, I believe was 196 thousandths. So you got a pretty big chunk of 154 cm steel. Let's go ahead and do some specs. Now, these are my measurements. I didn't really find any measurements online, so these are all just my rough estimates. About 8 3/8 of an inch overall. The handle is about 4 3/4. The blade length is about 3.7, and the cutting edge is about 3.44 or so. These are just rough measurements for me. And like I said, it gets 20 to 23 thousandths behind that edge, so it is super slicey. With your thick blade here, it's not going to be just slicing through apples or anything. But he made this for a pocketable tank of a knife that you can use for EDC, and I think he nailed it. This is pretty stellar. I have to admit that I am very, very impressed, which I knew I was going to be handling a custom knife. I haven't handled any customs before, so I knew I was going to be really excited about this, and it really has even surpassed my expectations on how well this knife is, especially the action. The action is just freaking awesome. Now, as far as the philosophy of this knife, I think he built this for an EDC. So the ergonomics on this guy, especially with my hands. Now, you guys know I have really big bigger hands. And so this knife fits into my hands perfectly. But I believe the way that this handle is shaped, even though it has just that little bit of a hump right there, I think it's going to fit in most people's hands very, very well. The pocket clip is not intrusive. You can feel that the pocket clip is there, but it doesn't really create a hot spot. Speaking of the pocket clip, it is this really cool titanium milled pocket clip. Now, you can see that it is not going to sit deep carry in your pocket. And I think that is by design because, let's face it, the man's company is called DSK Tactical. So these knives are made for, your everyday tasks, but it's also a tactical knife. He built these for that purpose. And so not sitting deep carry, I believe his intention was so you had enough of that knife to get it out and to deploy it really fast. And I think that's very well done. Some people are not going to like it. Some people are going to need this thing to be deep carry, but I like it just the way that it is. As far as the jimping, you have a little bit of jimping here. You have jimping down here, and I believe, that's it. So the jimping is, I'm not going to say, it's rounded off. It's a little sharp, okay? But it's one of those jimpings that it melts in your hand, and you can feel it. It's grippy, where it's not going to go anywhere. But it's not like so grippy when I bear down on this like I am right now that it's painful or anything like that. The jimping is done really well, in my opinion. My thumb rests way up here, so the jimping here doesn't do much for me because I don't usually cut with my knives like this. My thumb rides up here, so it doesn't do much for me there, but it does here. Helps me lock my fingers in. As you can see, it does have a sharpening choil. It's not much of a finger choil, but you can get one knuckle in there and do your business. I just when you're choking up, I think it's going to be fine for that. I haven't really used the knife like this. I usually just grab it like that right there. So So man, that's the best. The best thing about this knife, the action, folks. It's just the best that I have ever felt. I can't get over it. All right, let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. We're going to do the regular Spyderco sandwich. There it is against the Paramilitary 2. And here it is against the, hey, I poked my dead gum mat. Here it is against the PM3. Let's put them pivot to pivot there. And as you can see, it is a larger knife than the PM2, but not by much. It's a very, very pocketable knife to carry for EDC. I've really enjoyed it. As far as EDC and that pocket clip, the pocket clip works great. It is a little bit harder to get into your pants and out of your pants. You can definitely hear the snap whenever you're taking it out. But I don't mind that at all because it just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable that I know that thing's not coming out of my pocket. A couple other size comparisons. We are going to bring out these Kaiser Sheepdog. This is the regular version. You can see that it is longer than the Sheepdog. As far as the blade width, you know, they're kind of similar. And of course, I have to bring this out because Big Bore Knife and Gear, my buddy Scott, is the one who anodized this thing. And I still can't get over how beautiful this thing is. So obviously it's making its way out here. And then another one, of course, this one is relatively new to me. This is the Medford 187. So you can see as far as thickness wise, the Medford and the DSK are pretty similar. I believe it's just a tad bit thicker on this guy than on the 187, but pretty similar as far as that is concerned. The handles, just a tad, just gives it a little bit more on the 187, but very comparable knives as far as thickness. And that's really what makes this thing, I think, fit my hand really well. I like thicker handles. You know, whenever you're talking about something, we went over this before, but whenever you got something that's kind of thin, the thicker handles really help me grab onto the knife and feel like I've got a better purchase on it. I've got to where I just really enjoy the thicker handles because you guys know me, I like big overbuilt knives, and so it doesn't bother me as far as being thicker. We're going to go see what this thing weighs because this is not a one of your lightweight you know, EDC knives that you just put in your basketball shorts. But 7.1 ounces, you know, for a knife this thick, you got a lot of blade. You know, a lot of people might say, oh my gosh, that's way too heavy to carry. It's just not. You know, if you were that kind of guy to where you don't like heavy knives, then you're not gonna get anything out of this because I like overbuilt knives, and this thing carries like a dream in the pocket. I really did not feel it in my pocket. Now I do have, you know, I wear jeans, cargo pants, you know, bigger, thicker pants, and so you're not gonna put this thing in a pair of slacks or basketball shorts, like I said, but. It's not made to be carried like that. It's a working knife. This thing is made for work. And it does a really good job. I've done some cutting with this. I cut some cardboard. It flew through the cardboard like it was butter. It is a slicey blade, like I said, with that thin edge. I am not sure if this thing has been sharpened because I think Scott is the second owner of this. I'm not exactly sure, but you can see if the camera will focus. Come on, camera. Well, maybe not. Anyway, the bevel is nice and even. I'm not sure if this has been sharpened, but the bevel's nice and even, nicely ground. That hollow ground right there at this angle really intrigues me. You don't see that very often, and I think it looks beautiful and is very functional to the knife. You can see as far as the tip is concerned that it still comes out to a thick tip to where you're not going to worry about breaking this thing off. You know, it's going to be good for poking into you know, bags of sand and just some of the harder EDC uses that you come across on a daily basis. So you can see the big over travel stop pins there. It is not a thumb stud. This is solely a hole or a hole open, and holes are better than studs. Shout out to Bearded Gear. So Anyway, guys, this is just a quick overview of this custom knife, and man, I am sold. I've got to get my hands on a DSK tactical knife, especially the one with this action. I just can't get over the action. Some of his other models on his website, a bunch of them intrigue me. A lot of them are big, a lot bigger than this, and I really think that it's going to be part of my collection in the future. It's just such a well-built knife that I cannot see myself not getting something like this. And of course, all American made, so you can't beat that. Very good company. I don't know how long it takes to usually get some of his knives because he is a custom maker. So it's not going to be just something that you can order and receive in a couple of days. But the good thing is it's a custom knife. You can tell him exactly what you want and he'll do it within reason. So you can't beat that. I don't know how much this knife costs new. I am assuming around the $1,000 mark, $1,200, something like that. So I think on his website, all of his custom knives start at $800 and it just goes up from there depending on your materials and the work that you want done. Because I've seen some pretty cool milling on some of their scales and whatnot. He just does excellent work. So guys, if any of you guys have had one of these or another DSK knife, hit me up in the comments. I'd like to see what knives you have, what's your experiences with them. I know Big Bore loves this knife, and for rightfully so. I'm pretty sure that his other buddy Kyle, because my name is Kyle, is the one who originally had this knife, and he loved it. And Big Bore was like, "Hey, I like this. Sell it to me." And I don't know what the deal was, but man, he did good. He did really good because I would have done the same thing. Scott, do you want to sell this thing? Huh? You want to sell it? Just kidding, buddy. Just kidding. So anyways, guys, go check out Big Bore Knife and Gear. He is an awesome dude. He sent this over for me to review, and I just couldn't be happier and couldn't be more thankful. If you like this kind of stuff, guys, hit that like button, subscribe, and you'll be able to see the rest of the stuff that Mr. Scott sent me. I've got a lot more stuff to go over and to review. Remember that I do giveaways once a month, so hit that notification bell so you will be notified whenever I have those out. I'm pretty sure that I'll be getting my Going Gear EDC subscription package sometime soon. Usually I get it within the first week of the month. It's kind of a little bit later right now, but with all the craziness in the world, I'm expecting that. So anyways, guys, you guys have a good one and be safe, and we will see you in the next one.